The most iconic amusement ride, perhaps only behind the carousel, is the Ferris wheel. This ride's iconic status can be attributed to its history, as not only is the Ferris wheel one of the most produced rides of all time, it's also one of the oldest. Much like the carousel, the Ferris wheel can be traced to the early modern era in Europe, first appearing in the historical record around the mid-1600s. The predecessor to the modern Ferris wheel was described as a wooden frame wheel-like structure with balanced seats for children or adults. The wheel was spun by hand and could produce quite the thrill for its time, as riders were spun up and down all while remaining upright. Different variations of this ride were created by early traveling showmen all over Europe and the Middle East, with a lot of the early history of the Ferris wheel matching that of the carousel. Primitive Ferris wheels are still very much produced today in some regions of the world due to their simplicity and potential to thrill. Much like early carousels, these simple rides could run slow to appeal to children, but were usually ran fast to appeal to adults, though the speed all depended on the strength of the operator, as these primitive Ferris wheels were all human-powered. These primitive Ferris wheels, commonly called pleasure wheels at the time, soon appeared all over Europe and European colonies wherever festivals were taking place. This slow growth continued through the 17 and early 1800s. In the mid to late 1800s, technology began to become mainstream that would allow for larger and more complex wheels. This included advancements in steel and other metal alloys, as well as advancements in propulsion such as steam engines. This technology allowed for these wheels to become much larger. This innovation came alongside the birth of the modern amusement park. In 1892, American inventor Summers created 3 different pleasure wheels that would go on to inspire the modern small-scale Ferris wheels we know today. These were about 50-foot tall wheels that were installed in Atlantic City, New Jersey, Coney Island, New York, and Asbury Park, New York, all seaside destinations of the time that would become home to many different amusement parks and attractions over the years. A few of these installations were double wheels with 2 identical rides right next to each other. In 1892, a civil engineer from Illinois named George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. took a ride on one of these wheels in Atlantic City. Little did anyone there know, this engineer was actively working on designing one of the most impressive amusement rides of all time. In 1893, Ferris unveiled his innovation at the Chicago World's Fair. This ride, known as Ferris's Wheel, was a marvel of engineering for the time, and it's still impressive today. Built as America's answer to the Eiffel Tower, this ride was massive. Standing at 264 feet or 80 meters tall, it was the first amusement ride ever made taller than 200 feet. The giant pleasure wheel would define the ride type that we now call Ferris wheels. This first Ferris wheel featured 36 fully enclosed passenger cars, each seating up to 40 riders with standing room for another 20. At full capacity, the wheel could hold 2,160 people at a time, an insanely high capacity. The Ferris wheel featured a large 71-ton, 45-foot-long axle that at the time was the largest metal hollow object ever forged. A spiderweb of iron spokes led outwards from the center to the main ring. The entire ride was powered by twin 1,000 horsepower steam engines. The boilers for these steam engines were located underground. The total ride time for the attraction was around 20 minutes. This included 2 total revolutions, with one having frequent stops to load and unload, and 1 complete rotation without stopping. Tickets for the ride cost 50 cents at the time, or about $18 today, and the ride was so popular that it paid off its massive construction cost of $385,000, about $13 million today, within the duration of the World's Fair. After the fair, the Ferris wheel was sold and reopened in the Lincoln Park neighborhood of Chicago in 1895. The wheel received many complaints from neighbors as Lincoln Park was a wealthier area in Chicago, which caused it to be taken down in 1903 and relocated to the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. The ride operated at the fair and once again was a big hit. After the fair, a new buyer could not be found and the ride was scrapped. This may have been due to the difficulty in relocating the wheel. The attraction required extensive foundation work to be completed, along with needing several train cars to be transported. Though the original Ferris wheel is long gone, its design went on to inspire an entire class of rides that are still being built today. Ferris would die in 1896 and would not patent his design or produce any more wheels. This had the effect of making the idea freely available for anyone to copy, and shortly after, giant Ferris wheels started to pop up everywhere. The first of these was the slightly taller Great Wheel in the UK for the 1895 Empire of India exhibition. This wheel would be sold a handful of times before being demolished in 1907 after no longer being profitable. This would be followed by a larger wheel in Paris in 1900, which was demolished in 1920. A smaller wheel than all of these was built in Austria in 1897, named Wiener Riesenrad, which is German for Vienna Giant Wheel. The ride is notable for holding the title of tallest Ferris wheel at a height of 64 meters or 212 feet for 65 years, despite not being the tallest in the world when it opened. The ride is actually still in operation and remains the only Ferris wheel from this early era that you can still ride today. It can be found just outside of Vienna as part of the popular Prater Permanent Fairground. The ride is also notable for using tensioned steel cables as spokes. The ride was slated for demolition in 1917, but was saved by a lack of funding for this demolition. The ride has seen some modifications though. The ride was severely damaged in World War II, and this caused it to be repaired with only 15 working cabins instead of the original 30. It is truly remarkable that this ride has survived as long as it has, and it can still be enjoyed today. The original massive Ferris wheels of the late 18 and early 1900s were going out of style by the 1920s, with another record breaker not opening until the 1980s. However, the smallest Ferris wheel seen was just getting off the ground. At that 1893 World's Fair, a bridge builder was enamored with the design of the Ferris wheel. He decided that he could create his own design out of steel and make it transportable enough that it could operate at any fair, not just the massive World's Fairs. That bridge builder owned a company called Eli Bridge, who would produce their first amusement ride, the Big Eli Wheel, in 1900. The ride was a massive hit, and the original example can still be ridden outside of the Eli Bridge factory in Jacksonville, Illinois today. The ride model would be named the Big Eli, and many more Big Eli wheels would be produced. In fact, the ride can still be purchased today. The Big Eli has become the de facto fairground Ferris wheel even into the 21st century. The ride's sales propelled the Eli Bridge Company forward, allowing them to later create classic rides such as the Scrambler. Other companies soon followed, creating their own small and mid-sized versions of the ride. In fact, many new companies still enter this market today, with this version of the ride being by far the most popular. With that being said, it's not possible to list every Ferris wheel manufacturer that has made small and mid-sized wheels for fairgrounds and amusement parks, but a few of the more popular ones are Chance Rides, which has produced hundreds of wheels for locations all over the world, from amusement parks to shopping malls, with one example of their wheels being Americana Wheel at King's Dominion. The Fabry Group, which has produced the world's largest fully enclosed Ferris wheel, which is 57 meters or 190 feet tall and is located in Turkmenistan. Basink, who has made many modern European traveling wheels. Schwarzkopf, who has produced several large-scale permanent and traveling wheels, with one of their best-known examples being the traveling giant wheel located at Cedar Point. Intamin, who produced double and triple Ferris wheels, which we'll talk about more in a moment. And Vekoma, who has produced many different park wheels over the years. So many wheels that they produce their own subsidiary named Dutch Wheels that exclusively produces these rides for the company. With so many different manufacturers making Ferris wheels over the years, there have been many different designs and innovations. Some of these updated takes on the Ferris wheel design include the hubless wheel. This design features no center. These rides come in two designs. One features the entire wheel turning like a normal Ferris wheel, with the entire ride being supported at the base, and another with the riders' cars having electric motors that drive themselves around the outside of the wheel. This second design has the advantage of making it possible for the ride to have non-circular designs. The largest hubless wheel Ferris wheel is the Big O at Tokyo Dome City. This ride is also notable for having the Thunder Dolphin roller coaster pass through it. Another unique type of Ferris wheel is the eccentric wheel. This design features normal Ferris wheel cabins as well as special cabins that ride on a track inside of the wheel, much like that of a roller coaster. As the wheel turns, these cabins swing back and forth, providing a more thrilling ride. The first ride like this was Dino's Wonder Wheel, located near Coney Island, New York. This ride has been in operation since 1920 and can still be experienced today. Mickey's Fun Wheel at Disney's California Adventure is a near clone of Wonder Wheel and is the only other eccentric Ferris wheel in operation currently. Chance Rides has also had some fun with the Ferris wheel concept over the years, creating quite a few rides based on the design. These include the Radar, a 1960s design of double Ferris wheel that could rotate on its horizontal axis, and the Skydiver, a 1960s extreme ride with unbalanced cars that can invert that are attached to a Ferris wheel. The Sky Wheel is an interesting older take on the double Ferris wheel concept. Produced by the Allen Herschel Company in the 1950s and 60s, this ride is two smaller Ferris wheels attached together with the hub of a larger wheel. These rides stand at 90 feet or 21 meters tall and were designed to be portable. Their low capacity due to their difficulty to load efficiently ultimately led to their decline. However, a few do still operate today. One is in operation with the American Showman Modern Midways, though on their site they state that due to high maintenance and transportation costs, the Sky Wheel is only available for select venues. The Intamin double and triple Ferris wheels are quite well-known variations of the ride, though they're also quite unconventional. These rides featured 2 or 3 separate boom arms that each had their own Ferris wheel hubs. Accordingly, these rides featured an incredibly high capacity. These rides were produced from the late 1960s into the early 1980s. They would all close shortly after the turn of the millennium due to high maintenance costs and lessening rider demand. There were only 2 triple Ferris wheels ever produced, and both were at the Marriott's Great America parks, one in Illinois and one in California. Though the design of the Ferris wheel is well over 100 years old, new rides are still being produced today, and innovation is ongoing in this space, with new manufacturers popping up all of the time, and the record for the largest wheel still being contested every few years today. The Chinese company Sameco from Shanghai has produced some of the largest wheels on the Asian continent. This includes the Star of Nanqing, which was once the largest in the world when it opened in 2006. Standing at 160 meters or 525 feet tall. This record was then broken in 2008 by the Singapore Flyer, made by Mitsubishi and standing at 165 meters or 541 feet. This record was broken in 2014 by the High Roller in Las Vegas, which stands at 167 meters or 550 feet and was made by ARP Engineering, who also did a lot of design work for the Singapore Flyer. It should also be noted that large Ferris wheels are treated more like one-off mega projects rather than as regular production rides. This is also the case for the current world's tallest Ferris wheel, in Dubai, or Eye of Dubai, standing at an incredible 250 meters or 820 feet. This project was completed by several engineering firms and Hyundai. The impressive height makes this ride the tallest amusement ride on Earth currently, and it's going to be a hard record to beat. From its humble beginnings as a fun pastime at Renaissance-era fairs to the modern marvels of structural engineering that exists today, the Ferris wheel has become an iconic amusement ride that many associate with fond memories. The ride type has truly stood the test of time and continues to be popular today. With all the Ferris wheels still in operation and being built, there are plenty of chances to ride this iconic ride. What is your favorite Ferris wheel of all time? As always, thanks for watching this extended episode of Flat Ride Friday. If you'd like to see the remaining episodes of Flat Ride Friday without having to wait, consider becoming a channel member to start viewing them all right now. If not, no pressure though, the next episode will be out next week, and we'll be looking at a very close relative of the Ferris wheel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.